Hello and welcome to IM's AEW Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through EdCircle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. A link is in the description. Read the Social Suplex newsletter. Shout out to Trish and Tim as always, and to every person who's contributed so far. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network: One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, Soundbound's AEW Match Guide, and Joshing around. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and this is your quick look back at the AEW week that was. 30 minutes of figuring out how the hell I'm going to watch Forbidden Door next week when the World Cup's on. There's limited time as it is, and suddenly there's this 5-hour AEW pay-per-view. Like, okay, we're gonna say we're gonna get this out. How am I gonna do this review next week? I've got no idea. I'll figure it out. But AEW was in Houston, Texas this week. In Texas, close enough to the football, I'm assuming, so the English people could fly over. It's like Zack Sabre Jr. with Ospreay in Texas. Like, you're telling me they didn't try to get tickets? Surely they tried to get to the England game. And yeah, pro wrestling in a theatre again. I love how AEW stages their shows when they're in a location like this, and they're in the same place for both Dynamite and Collision, so that was lovely. So yeah, really enjoyed the production this week. There were lights on the walls and everything, blue for Dynamite, red for Collision, and 2 episodes that absolutely fly by. I do feel like last week we finally broke the streak. Amazing killer episodes of Dynamite, and then last week finally took the pedal off the gear a little bit. The side distraction that is Forbidden Door a little bit, taking it away a tad from the momentum, which feels a bit like a pedantic critique because this card still feels killer. There's got no complaints about the card itself. It's purely about the momentum of the TV show. It's slowed down a little bit. Like, instead of going straight into MJF Mark Briscoe, instead we're doing this huge, big, fighty cage match type of thing, stretching it out a tad more. It still feels great. And like, these shows are still amazing. I've got no complaints about the quality of those shows. It's just that what I mean is that streak from when Darby won the title, for even back past when he won the title, we just had a killer Dynamites of an absolutely top tier quality. We've taken their foot off the gas a little bit, which is fine. I don't need to go pedal to the metal. Honestly, I found it quite impressive that they were able to go as hard as they were for as long as they did. Like, that was quite impressive. And Collision left me off on a really happy note with the Athena Maya World main event, because I thought those two were fantastic. I thought they had chemistry out the wazoo. They were incredible. So really still a main event to end the show, leave me on a happy note going into Dynamite. I often say that about Collision. Sometimes I'm just watching it and it kind of go through the motions. It's not always the most engaging show to me. I often drift off during the middle a little bit. But that main event, that main event was so good. It happens so often. That mind drifting a little bit in the middle, but then when it comes to the main event, it just gets me all excited, and then leave Collision in a great feeling way, and I'm more excited to watch for more AEW. Anyway, let's jump on over to Houston, Texas. Let's not waste any time getting into a Dynamite with Kenny Omega versus Tony Neese kicking off the show. So we'll play a little sound clip from that as we set up our Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. big attraction Forbidden Door match.
We heard from him Saturday, Tony. He's got visions of reclaiming the AEW World Championship dancing through his head. And right now, Kenny Omega, one winged angel.
So, apparently, according to commentary, Smart Mark Sterling and Naria Daivari and old Tony here came on out demanding a match before the show. So Tony Khan gave them Kenny Omega. Quick work for Kenneth, V-Trigger rocked Tony groggy, one to Sterling for good measure, and one winged angel for the win. Basically a jobber match, a fast and dominant win, and a surprise Zack Sabre Jr. came out. Didn't get the biggest pop. It almost feels like the AEW fans don't recognise his music. It's an odd reaction, like they recognise Zack Sabre Jr. and they're not unhappy to see him, but they don't cheer being like, oh, here's this great talent's giving us these amazing matches. Kenny just left the ring and slid the mic on over until his elite friends backed him up, kicked the mic over to Kenny to cut the jabber. He put his opponent over, agreed to be amicable. That was that. No lines for Zack. Zack all happy just to stand there and take it this week. My canon is he lost his voice cheering the England win earlier, so he just he doesn't say any lines, then does a wrestle to make his statement later in the night. But I don't need a promo back and forth between Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre Jr. Like, that's not the point. There was the technical back and forth with like Bryan Danielson and stuff, and also the philosophy exchanging between he and Nigel McGuinness. But I don't need Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenny Omega to do that style of back and forth. Kenny's already kind of done that work before Zack got here, and then you just have Zack doing a wrestle, and that already gets across his stuff. Like, it's fine. We'll get a little more over on Dynamite next week because Zack Sabre Jr. will be doing another wrestles. But on to the other notes for the show. Tommaso Ciampa backstage with a quick jabber. Look at that, the feud's good again. Explained why he hates Jericho. The Innovator was the best, but 2026 Chris Jericho with the puns, the goofs, and the desperation. He hates every last bit of it. Like, hey, look at that, Ciampa's 100% correct again. It is a thing that that the best villains are correct. They just maybe go about it in the wrong way. Like, for me, it's fine as long as you understand their motivations and their philosophies and how they see the world. That's absolutely fine. I don't need to agree with Fisk to understand him as a character, but Ciampa here is just correct. There's like no wiggle room here. There is no debate about the morality about how he's going about it. It's like, no, Jericho's being a prick and he deserves to get told to his face that he's being a prick. I don't see the problem. Ciampa's just correct here. Sure, on Collision, he maybe oversteps, quite literally beating the man up over the steps, but would we be doing anything different in his position? Jericho's being a prick. So Ciampa's just, just doing as he should as his loyal duty. Unfortunately, we did get a Jericho promo in reply afterwards. Shirtless because reasons. It's wrestling. Challenged a face-to-face for Collision. Like, hope you enjoyed your Ciampa promo. Time for this to be rubbish again. We'll come back on Collision. And Starlight Kid got a wee video showing who she what is and her past win over Tekla. Tekla backstage all cool in her expensive leather and AEW Women's Championship, promised to take off her mask and spit in her face. And an amazing angle that carried out on Stardom, with the owner of the promotion talking to the microphone ringside, and behind him with hair clippers is Tekla. Tries to shave off parts of his head, fails to go into the ring, and then Tekla takes off her belt and starts whipping him, whipping the owner of the promotion. But this is the type of shit I want from Forbidden Door. Yes, you got your start little match with Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenny Omega, where that's more about the contest, about who's the best. There isn't really much interpromotional stuff, but that Tekla pass works so perfectly in being that little interpromotional war. Like, I love it. And especially as this is going to be the first one with Stardom proper on the show, and giving them an actual spotlight here in a featured match with a great little story. I want to see people jumping back and forth. For me, this is great. And on to the rest of the show with Death Riders, Jon Moxley and Daniel Garcia versus Bro Dido. Any team, a challenge to any team, you say? Woof woof. Brody King has some steam to blow off after last week's Owen loss, and a good laugh at Garcia amping up to be big strong boy against Bandido and Brody. He huffed and he puffed and he got chopped onto his arse. Tagged out to Jon Moxley. Loved it. Loved the clubber vibe Mox and King had when chopping lumps out of each other too. Garcia and Bandido, the injection of pace and a reminder of just how cool the Mexican bandit is. Brody stared down and woofed in Marina Shafir's face, who barked back. It was meant to be menacing, but it did have the vibe of the smaller dog barking about trying to be the friend with the bigger dog. It had that vibe about just trying to be tough, but almost like she's mimicking the bigger dog. Brody got jumped off that distraction and became the lad taking the Death Rider beatings. So torqued and held back, Taz gave the commentary advice: you can tag with your head. Did you know it has to be the tag partner's hand onto any part of you? Hot tag Bandido twisting Tornillo fire. The man got the crowd on their feet, one arm slamming Garcia onto Mox's tum-tum. And a suplex to Sophia, biggest pop of the match, hitting a move on a woman. Fast rapid flow fun with all four lads trading swings. 21-20 plex with Brody diving out onto Mox, and Bro Dido got their tag return win. Mox and Garcia's first tag loss too. Later in the show backstage with Lexi Nair, Bandido was all hyped and excited to be back together. They haven't forgotten about tag ambitions, but with his win, Bandido was all excited to challenge Mox for the Continental Championship. The Riders themselves walked in, Mox accepted in all of his seriousness in a very quick fire, that is, pump it onto the Forbidden Door card. The Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors, they were set to have their talkie out in the ring, but a man in a Canadian hoodie was hunched over at that production for that little beating spot, but he wasn't there to take the cigarette bit. Nope, it was to be Cope, because he was Adam Copeland, and Christian, who was Christian Cage. The two jumped, brawled out to the ring, and it was they who got their microphone fun instead. The baddies just walked out, and Christian said Father Finlay should have just jizzed his pants. Like, bloody hell, Christian. Cope, a tad more focused in his jabber. They're going to use the old man grumpiness to beat up Finlay and Connors at Forbidden Door. Right, and on to the match I enjoyed the most, maybe this week, because I really enjoyed the main event and Collision. These are, to be honest, I'm arguing about two great matches. Both women's Owen Cup semi-final matches were stellar. If you've not watched either of these shows, which, with a lot going on, it's maybe understandable you maybe were a bit lighter on the wrestling this week, and maybe this is the best week for my kind of format. Quickly blast through it, you get everything. But honestly, watch both of the women's semi-final cup matches. They were both incredible. Hazuki matched and bettered Monet before the break, leading to the woman stepping outside and staring at the trophy to take a breather. Going to ad break, stood on the stage all tentative and cautious, almost needing that Owen Cup too much. Mercedes was on top once we returned, but an apron DDT and triple dive fun times completely switched that. Hit so well, Houston were chanting Hazuki before the clap clap clap, this is awesome normalities. On top with the submission rolling too, in a tad of our classic Mercedes flow where she just survives with her foot on the ropes or a last ditch kick out. Eddie Guerrero 3 Amigos blocked on the third in a true tribute, and onto the stage they spilled for another ad break, me realising, oh shit, they've given this time. Or it's America with a lot of ad breaks. Which one is it? Fair to say Europeans are feeling the American ad breaks right now. Booing loudly. I've seen some Americans saying that hearing the Europeans boo the ad breaks loudly during the football is giving life. It's like, yes, we are openly rejecting this. Like, hey, we got a Meteora during the ads, so like there was that. It wasn't without action. Hell of a return though, with Hazuki laying in those rapid fists in the corner and Monet half bloodied up. And damn, Hazuki's lung blow looked awesome again. Senton Monet kicking legs, kicked and silky smooth transition into the crossface. Love the spot with Mercedes shaking her head as Hazuki held onto her hand to initiate a strike exchange. Mercedes again lost out an exchange, the weakest of kickouts with her legs strapped onto her. Brainbuster, but Monet rolled away. Back in the ring, tried to turn things around, but Hazuki was just refusing to let her. And bloody hell, the talk in which Mercedes whipped Hazuki with into the statement maker sold all of that fear and desperation to end the Japanese woman so fucking well. Flash finish fun flow, Hazuki rolled out and rolling up again and again. Always so great when those Stardom speed roots burst out in a flash. Mercedes kept up, and god, the final minutes of this match were so good. Back and forth at such a pace, snapped into the statement maker at such a wrenching angle, and this time there was no escape. I've seen that the cage match rating for this match is incredibly high. Like, we're talking the 9s or something. That this got such a positive reaction. I really enjoyed it. It's wild to think that I think I preferred Athena Maya World. I think it was specifically the kind of chemistry that those two women had together. It was just so incredible to watch. Really enjoyed that one. But really, I'm arguing about two matches that I think are both great. So it's like I'm not being a dick. It's like, no, I have a personal preference. I reckon you would have your own personal preference too. If you're watching two good matches, you might click with one of them a little bit more, but they are both stellar matches, so watch them both. To the men's, Owen, we've already got our final with Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, so they had a win chin wag. And this stood up a little bit of conversation. People saying, should Will Ospreay have talked about his wife in that manner? Other people saying, for all we know, she's fine with it. And really, for me, the part of the conversation which had the most reason to actually debate is, what does it mean for the Will Ospreay character to be talking like that in front of Swerve Strickland? In terms of their character dynamics, what does it actually mean in terms of portraying the characters on the screen? Because I think it's silly to start debating on behalf of somebody you don't know. That feels odd. It is a point to go, oh, I didn't like the character saying that, but I think it's more of a point of the fact that it's the babyface character saying it. What is your reaction to that, to hearing a goody character say that right before they're doing this really heated serious promo? How does it frame them when they're about to enter this serious conversation? That's a relevant note, because as much as I had a little chuckle going, oh, bloody hell, Will, he says a line about his wife, because I know couples who talk like that to each other. I don't want to say that it's a cultural thing, because there's surely American couples who also talk pretty openly in that kind of way. But I do understand how it could turn some people off a character they were meant to be cheering if you're talking in that manner, especially as there's a character in MJF who talks in that vulgar way himself. But what does it mean for the character of Will Ospreay in terms of his framing for it, especially when Swerve comes out all serious and focused, and Will Ospreay's he's talking about being in a much better place because of the Death Riders, because of his muscle injury. But this show overall, it put a spotlight on the fact that he's mentally not there. And for me, that reaction to his wife and the oversharing and the vulgar way he talked about it, that counts of it as well. His emotions are leading him more. Be that in love, be that in violence or whatever. And we saw that when he lifts up Daniel Garcia in a hilarious photo. The way that Daniel Garcia just smiles as he's being pressed up against the production stuff. It's really funny. But for me, it leads into the fact that Will Ospreay is not in control of his emotions. I think different viewers are going to have different reactions to it. It fits perfectly into Will Ospreay not controlling his emotions, overreacting in all the different ways of his emotion, which is part of what Mox is trying to teach him. In reality, I felt like it was more done for a quick little laugh. I think they thought it was just funny, so Will said it. I've got the fact that it does tie in quite nicely into him not controlling his emotions. It fits his character at this point absolutely fine. I've got no qualms that way. But I also think the actual reason they, in reality, actually did it because they thought it would just be a funny little laugh during the promo, and there was no other real thought to it. It wasn't done for that character reason. It just coincidentally fits. is the way that I'm looking at it. And this isn't me even doing hindsight writing, because on the show they had him do the Daniel Garcia thing, he's not in control of his emotions, so it fits in that way. But I don't think they meant it. Schiavone was in the ring with Chipper Will, he's got plenty of things to be happy about, as we said before, married to Windsor, and then England had a great showing in the football goals, so doubly so in the great emotion. Don't worry, Swerve was going to see all that positivity and happy William vibes. He was going to see to it. First time together since their tagging times at last year's All In. The jabs of the Death Riders didn't have their desired effect though on Will. He's already done far too much work on that to get rocked by simple baddie prods. Called out Swerve though, because where was Swerve back when Ospreay got injured by the Death Riders back at Forbidden Door last year? That bond formed last year. That being broken is what actually aggravated Will. Ospreay makey un mistakey, slapping the mic out of Swerve's hand before he could answer. Direct motivation stated for William. Of course he tied winning this tournament to the World Cup. Dreaming of the Wembley stage is a real thing though. That's the biggest sporting stage in our country. Swerve snatched that mic back. Hangman? There is no Hangman anymore. Right in the face of Will's story. No, fuck that. Commentary being like, oh, whoa, we've not cleared that swear word. Apologies. No Cody Rhodes finishing the story bullshit when Swerve's about. Brought up how it's been 10 years in the business together and there's 0 wins for Ospreay over Swerve. Calling the man's neck fragile, seemingly a step too far, and earned Swerve a stiff punch in the face. Chain times, as William Makey dos mistakey, but now he's got the Death Riders to back him up and save him when he's an idiot. The very same people Swerve and Ospreay were fighting against this time last year, helping thing to exactly prove Strickland's point. No, Will, you have changed. I love that as a final beat, because Will was so adamant that he is in a much better place, but he seemingly means it physically, and Swerve is like, no, you are a different person. I just loved it. It just had Swerve proven correctly by the Death Riders coming out like that. Then the perfect note to leave us on after the break, with Ospreay losing his cool with Garcia, and Mox was stepping in preaching patience. Do you feel in control right now? Just words. It wasn't just the neck that got Will his loss against Papa Mox after returning. That anger and emotion is still leading him. It really does feel like this is Will Ospreay's story to finish at Wembley, but they've put enough roadblocks in there where it doesn't matter that feels a blatant road. He's got such an arc to go on as a character now. Yes, he's physically in a much better state because of the Death Riders, but he's emotionally just as vulnerable, and Swerve is the guy who will rip him apart if he doesn't get in control of it. So you've directly given him something to overcome, not just like doing the wrestles better. Like it's one more thing for him to go overcome for himself. And Swerve will do everything in his power as the character to just bring that out of him, be it maybe something related with Windsor or just jabbing in that way, or try to bring that anger out of him just like Mox did. So yeah, it's a better story because there's an actual arc to overcome, and we're not talking about the Cody Rhodes stuff where he's got to put roadblocks in front of him to overcome. He's got to overcome them. It's like, it doesn't feel like this is an actual character arc where he's going to be a different person by the end of it. Not he's got to overcome the adversity, basically be the same person, but now he's the hero with the championship. Like Cody Rhodes' character over that adversity, those roadblocks weren't set there for him to change as a character. It was more there to drum up support so that we get that bigger pop at the end. This feels like Will Ospreay, he's got to as a character improve and change. There's actual effects happening here, so it's good writing. I'm all for it. The main event, the 12-man tag, MJF, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Kazuchika Okada, and Andrade versus Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Konosuke Takeshita, and Darby Allin. All the men, Don Callis family in a stairway wide enough to hold them all. MJF addressed all his enemies, feeling all brave with all that muscle behind him. Both Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher had to do that face grab to fend off a bout of the giggles. Andrade not up for it at all, and just a dejected Trent Barretta in the background after everyone else had left. Like, it's an unnecessary detail, but he's just in the background being like, why does father never choose me? Just head down all grumpy. A new guitar solo theme for the family. The brown note's gone. In comes an actual guitar, cool riff. Properly early 90s WCW faction shit. So of course I love it. What about Mark's team? He waited to the main event to reveal his lineup. Good chuckles with the conglomeration fun and Briscoe's unique energy. Konosuke, Kyle Fletcher, I want you. Okada, I hate you. Short and sweet. On to the next person. Darby Allin more amped in his jabber. Of course that boy wasn't going to miss out on a multi-man steel cage match. This main event preview tag 20 minutes of setting the plate ready with all our dynamics and whatnot. Everyone in the pool chaos, but the real interest came with the Don Callis family having their little blow-ups between the various lads who didn't often tag together. Andrade of course didn't want any part in the whole thing, meaning he was just pacing on the stage in front of the hard cam. Kel Fletcher and Kevin Knight had their own blow-up, leading to MJF taking him to the ramp and having a little chin wag, admittedly with a cool camera shot. There's so many cool camera shots with them panning around of whoever was talking or standing on the ramp, with the wrestling match continuing in the background. Roddy Strong's fire back-breaking through everybody. That was just so much fun. Jake Doyle, beefy boy, sorted that, and such an entertaining flow, bringing in each lad one at a time back into the action, one by one, to hit one move before getting rocked. Takeshita was the one to jump Kazu, but Fletcher got back in to turn that 2-on-1 before a little Intercontinental title match preview. That obviously ended in This Is Awesome Blue Thunderbomb style. 5 minutes left of the show, we finally got our proper Max and Mark stare down. Interrupted because of the multi-man runnings, but the closing flow built around teasing them actually doing a wrestle before the next lad jumped in. Speaking of, Kevin Knight chased away by Darby Allin, and we single shot followed them all around the theatre, back up to the stage, and Jake Doyle launched the wee boy at the ring post. Hooray for AEW's theatre stage setup, letting us do that wild bit. And finally, the Freeman Briscoe times. Heatseeker denied, but no pin was coming thanks to Don Callis running out. Strong tagged in to stop Fletcher, but boo! That was Briscoe's momentum interrupted. Salt off the earth, and Roddy tapped out. And the one thing you 100% expected to happen, going off the air with multi-man brawl chaos. Throughout it, anytime Andrade helped Max, he just looked all grumpy and death staring, like he really didn't want to help him out. Getting more and more pissed that he's not getting his title shot. So yeah, that ended the show, directly building to Forbidden Door now. With the main stories, it is a Forbidden Door build, which is also looking over towards Wembley in a much stronger way than I feel like we've done in the past. Having the Owen get that title shot at All In has really helped build some kind of road there. But the fact that it's Forbidden Door as well means that you've got all these attraction matches around it. Like, it's not just all about the All In build or wanting to be on the All In stage. Like, no, you got all these cool matches happening around it as well. But yeah, a good Dynamite. It was a really entertaining show. It flew by as usual. The main event was chaos, and I really liked all the little stories that it was setting up. Which way it always feels like being a bit of a dick to say that it wasn't like, oh my god, it wasn't like the craziest Dynamite, you have to watch it. Like, no, that streak's over. Last week was good. This week was also good. It feels like a stage setting show rather than like blowout craziness that we've had for like the 6-7 weeks prior. These are the kind of shows that are needed to get us invested in the characters. They had a great rotation of like, you get your character investment and somebody else be doing a great main event and you rotate around. But they're doing their best to make Mark Briscoe feel like he's worthy of an MJF pay-per-view match. And we're going to get our crazy steel cage match, which again feels like it's just going to be part of Forbidden Door from here on. Tony Khan likes that kind of annual chaos-y thing. But yeah, decent Dynamite. Like, genuinely, the things to look out for are the two women's semi-final matches. They're the two standouts from this week. Everything else is building towards Forbidden Door. Like, fine enough, but it's not blowing me away. The women's cup matches both were fantastic. So anyway, let's jump over to Collision so I can get to talk about Athena My World. My personal favourite match of the week. Still in Houston, Texas, but now the lights on the theatre wall are red. So we know it's Saturday. So anyway, let's jump on over, starting with the Young Bucks and Jack Perry versus the Lethal Twist.
When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
Has shifted in favor of the Elite here.
Let's see if they can keep it going. Jack is up on top. Jack.
Ori Haramoose.
Oh, the bouncer driver from the out to the center. It's over. 5 stars.
Trio's fun to open the show, our We Elite showcase and follow-up for our Lethal team following their ineffective jump on Mark Briscoe. Perry and the Bucks more than happy to let the Twisty Men get out their flight before the ad break. Returned for that Matt Jackson comeback, flying double clotheslines like a big boy. Full great Young Bucks flow, that rope-draped stomp into the powerbomb now called the Bop Drop, because of course it is. They're 90s teenagers after all. Not even the Swirl cutting off the top rope countdown stopped the Elite flow, instead resulting in a 6-man sharpshooter spot with all 3 baddies in trouble. Papa J Lethal needed to be old and smart to get anything, and by anything I mean hitting maybe one move before getting countered and nay lethal injection handspring fun for you. The kids are alright though, their jump in after worked and yay handspring fun for Jay Lethal now. Great trios tag bit with them too. Like hey, they got that high spot fun. Up on Johnson's shoulders, Christian double stomp sent him into Death Valley rotation times and set him up perfectly for a lethal elbow halfway across the ring. That was indeed their high spot though, flash into the Elite match closing energy after that. Perry got to reverse one or 2 men, Bucks Meltzer driver finished the job. A wee little showcase and we got a confirmed trios tag match for Forbidden Door, which we'll get to later. But also for Wednesday, Perry later on cut a wee to camera backstage bit. Zack Sabre Jr. was the man who gave him his first proper night out drinking when he was out in Japan. I keep forgetting how young Jack Perry is. It's like 2 years ago I had my first night out drinking. Wait, what? I keep forgetting how young you are. Challenged the man for a match on Wednesday and 2 drinks after. I think the latter thing will be the most appealing thing for Zack Sabre Jr. You've all seen the stories of the English and especially the Scottish drinking cities dry. Like, what are Boston going to do? Are they going to overfill ready for the England fans coming in, given the Scottish drank them dry? In my head, England aren't going to drain them as well. I feel like that'll be a Scottish record. But you're in trouble, Boston. Scotland have already drained you and you haven't even had the England fans yet. Like, you gotta stock up. On to the other notes for Collision. Sheila was backstage speaking into a kendo stick instead of Lexi's microphone. Found it plenty funny that Mina and Chris have to face each other in their qualifying. Shouted, "The best is Sheila," before insulting Lexi's dress in Japanese. The Bang Bang Gang leaning fully into the Stray Dog Bit Help Centre thing, with a 90s style videotape advertising their clinic. The dogs later on in their own promo fully focused on Forbidden Door and Edge and Christian as if Juice and Friends don't exist. Like, they went into all that effort doing like a Stray Dogs Help Centre thing. Not even acknowledged. Like the Bang Bang Gang just don't exist. And the dogs are just focused on a much bigger thing. The new IWGP Global Champion Shota Umino immediately set to crash into a Death Rider brick wall. Gabe sent the message in person, but Pac was with the words announcing Umino versus Pac for Forbidden Door. Speaking of past Japanese relations, that's a weird way to phrase it. Ricochet Takemura promo called out Takeshita for clearly being afraid of him. And Matt Sydal, who's he? The man came back after earlier in the show in a Skyflight promo. Once upon a time, the Dickhead and Sydal were tag champions in New Japan, and now Ricochet wants to just beat him up. Thunder Rosa called out the Divine Dominion, or as she called them, the Double Ds. Careful Rosa, that's 100% going to get over. Challenging the champions, promising to find a partner from CMLL, as she's one of those dual contract talents. The champions accepted later in the show, and I didn't note down anything they said because it was the same. We are dominant. We are going to beat you. I talk slower like this so that you understand how dominant I am. And I also start to lose a bit of interest because there's no inflections in the speech. Got to inflect a little bit. You can do the dominant talky thing because the look is down, the vibes are down. But whenever they do these promos, I get the substance of what they're saying, but I lose interest because it's just said in the same, slower, we are going to beat you up. We are dominant. And I get there's that calmness that comes with that. But in terms of keeping my interest, in terms of keeping in my interest. I need to, like, inflect at least one word. Like, just one. That's all I'm asking. Survival of the fittest qualifying match. Mina Shirakawa versus Chris Statlander, with Harley Cameron on commentary, so guaranteed chuckles for me. I just find her hilarious. She's got her qualifying match coming up on another show soon. Big strong Chris showing off a properly stalled suplex for like a full minute. Harley whips out her impressions during the ad break. Like, was sure the seat was giving her Death Rider powers, given how often it's become Mox's seat. Her Mox impression needs work, but her Nige accent was hilarious. I enjoyed that. Like, proper going all right, governor, with it. And her Tony Schiavone, like, you know, he's not an easy impression. Like, she gave it a go. Anyway, yes, the wrestling. Back from break, Mina was flying in her comeback and was finally able to slip out of Statlander's strength times. So Stat responded with a swift kick to the head, and yep, now she could hit her strength times. Back and forth in the final flow, with Stat growing them more desperate and frustrated. Roll-ups back and forth without a count. Eventually, Statlander trapped Shirakawa down and got the win. All respectful after the match. They're teasing the effects she just had on Stat, so she's in this weird tweener kind of place. Or at least she's a goodie who you're afraid could do a baddie thing, but she's not actually done any baddie thing. Hurt Syndicate versus Jobbers, Warren and Zach. The Hurt People. Feels like it's been a while since I've seen the Hurt People. On pay-per-view and then just not on TV. And tonight they get to be pissed about getting booked to do that against two young jobbers. Quick and easy work. Hey, Lashley didn't do it all by himself at least. Benjamin Stiffney, Lashley Spear, and to MVP's microphone we popped. What you just witnessed was a commercial. Put over the lads and reiterated that they're interested about money for hurting people over everything else. You bring the money and we'll bring the pain. I'm assuming that looking for a third member idea is dead. They cut it in that like build-up before getting selected into the Multiman Chaos at Double or Nothing. And now that they finally returned here, here's your kind of like character restatement. We are reinstating everything that we are about and what our current little angle is. Not mentioned. Not brought up at all that they're looking to expand. Nothing. Right back into, if you pay the money, then we'll turn up and beat you up. Seemingly swinging into a bit of that APA role, which that got over so well, and it feels like this is a great act to basically do the APA thing. The hired help that will just come out and beat somebody up, like when their music plays, you just know whoever's in that ring is about to get the shit beaten out of them. But look at that, there is one character with open money who's currently in need of help, and they've got history with him. Like, do we still treat Max in the Syndicate as canon? Like, it's not a Gas Leak season thing. Feels like something that we just moved on from and pretended didn't happen. Tommaso Ciampa and Jericho's little talk. Big Nige introduced Ciampa as one of AEW's most violent, then the Canadian as the iconic and influential. Like, man, everything Ciampa's saying is so spot on. To a point where this story works really well if we're meant to be booing the other man. But we're not. Okay, here we go. Ciampa's promo on Wednesday was great. Now Jericho's in the ring. Nige even saying, the ball is now in your court. Okay, here we go, Jericho. Is it immediately shit again? It was fine. Like, it wasn't rubbish. They seemed to realise from the last week's promo that Jericho doing his shtick didn't work, but the brawl did. So we didn't take too long and we got to the brawl. Jericho ending on, each and every version of Chris Jericho is going to kick your ass. Both men stating that this was a match they have both wanted for years. Ciampa wants to face Jericho in his adopted Florida home city at Beach Break, with all the man's friends and family front row to see Tommaso prove he's better, and immediately into the brawl with an hilarious pretending to struggle climbing over the barricade bit from Ciampa. Made all the better because it was a ruse. He just kind of like leant halfway over it going like, oh, I can't get my legs up, can't get over it, and then Jericho comes over to try to beat him up, so Ciampa just kicks him in the dick. Just huzzah! A kick to the Canadian dick. Jericho beaten up by the steel steps, bloodied forehead, and Tommaso's charging knee finished the statement. And then right before the main event, Jericho got an all-serious zoom out of his bloody head. Thanks, Ciampa. I needed this. Is this a character switch? I was praising AEW doing a character arc earlier. Are we going to see something from Jericho where he changes after this feud with Tommaso Ciampa, or is it just he becomes more serious for the match with Ciampa? Maybe it's wishful thinking because I'm not enjoying this current thing of Jericho. When he came back, I was like, okay, cool, we could do some form of run, we can change things up again. And then his feud entered the exact same pattern as every other Jericho feud. Like, nope, still the same. Identically the same. This Ciampa feud can stir things up, it can shake it up, it's desperately needed for that Jericho character. They've built up this heated feud, Ciampa's done amazing work in it. This was the first time I came out of a Jericho segment not disliking the character because of something Jericho said. I disliked the Jericho character because of something Ciampa said, because I agreed with Ciampa. But Jericho didn't add to that. It's the first time in this feud where Jericho's basically not just added to his own dislike. Is that this time he at least stayed on topic with the conversation. Didn't do any silly childish stuff that didn't really get the best reactions. Anyway, yeah, we're being promised a violent match between Ciampa and Jericho now. On to something completely opposite in terms of vibes. Dante Martin versus Mystico. We're in Houston, Texas, so plenty of Spanish-speaking fans to actually sing his theme for us. Allowed commentary to plug the Forbidden Door 3-team tag, Mystico and Dorada versus Shingo Takagi and Titan and Young Bucks. The ad break lead with Dante working on somebody else's leg injury. His full circle arc is now hurting other people's legs. Back from break into a tornado outside for Mystico. Wrestling rules of being able to run and jump, but then you just rise slowly with an after. Moonsault countered with the legs up. Kind of impressive from Mystico as he nailed backflipping onto his own feet for it. Springboard Swanton just flat out missed splat. Cool little package piledriver position thing instead of a powerbomb from Martin. And in the end, Spanish Fly from on high, and Houston got to stand up all happy clapping, arms up, singing the song again afterwards. You know, it's nice to see a crowd who actually know the song. Actually thinking about it, aside from the other crowds where they pretend to sing along to it, but like, yeah, I don't know the words for this, but you seem to want us to get engaged. This was a crowd who actually knew what to do. Pac versus Jobber J. Alexander. Another beefy jobber. Moxon commentating once again, but stood leaning on Schiavone's seat. I guess he wasn't going to risk Harley sullying his seat. This is one thick individual. Who is he? Like, Mox is just great in commentary. The guy ran the ropes, so Pac showed him how it's really done with that charging lariat. Slowed things down, all measured, stalky for his athletics to still feel like rider violence. Brutalizer and the big leg all groggy. Proper charging lariat for the win. Mox is happy, getting him over as a champion's performance because he's got his match with Umino. Adam Priest versus Zack Sabre Jr. A wee wrestle on Collision for the big Kenny Omega match, lad. Surely on the Saturday, just so McGuinness could be the one putting him over on commentary. Did enjoy me Priest's emotional snap offense in contrast to Zack Sabre Jr.'s smart tactical wearing. Motivated grit, but it got him a strike to the head and more directed offense on his worn down arm. Alabama Adam did keep trying to work on Zack's knee. Like, you're never going to out submission Zack Sabre Jr. though. Arms tangled and trapped, verbal submission for the Zacky boy win. And we get the bigger match against Jack Perry on Wednesday. And the main event, here we go, the women's Owen semi-final, Athena versus Maher World. Oh man, these two were so fucking great together. I'm not saying AEW should get fully behind Maher or have her beat Mercedes or anything, because no, as sympathetic as the story is in this tournament, that's really all it should be. Like, lock to the tournament and properly helping get her over, because Tekla Mercedes is the money match. In terms of the wrestling itself, a kid in the front row just shouted, "Oh my god, she mad," as Athena countered Maher ringside with an awesome bitter end looking thing. Sometimes kids just have amazing reactions. Excalibur called that move something evil, so I guess that's what I'll say now, if I remember. Will I remember? I don't know. There's a lot of wrestling moves out there, and my brain's still temporarily full of footballer names. But Maher and Athena were so quick and smooth together, like proper chemistry, something special. Loved it. In fact, so good I completely missed we'd had a whole ad break. I was just enjoying watching them wrestle. And bloody hell, the shot for Athena's curb stomp was so good. World's face to camera as Athena stomped from the tied legs behind. That beautiful fallaway slam into a crucifix bridge pin continues to get such a great reaction out of me. And oof, what an awesome looking slam upon the barricade to Maher. The holy shit after was censored, but we still got to see that fight as World struggled her way back in. Met with Athena's baddie, get up, come on, firing the lass up, think about your brother going a bit too far in the height, which ignited some fantastic looking strikes ground and pound. Athena's own strike got such a reaction. Then the O-face. She'd used Maya's emotion against her, but the woman kicked out at 2. Biggest reaction of the show, completely caught Houston by surprise. Angry Athena kicks into another beautiful roll-up and bridge over. Even the schoolboy pins look amazing. And she gets to 3, another big upset as Maher beats Athena in this student beating the master moment. Hug after the match, all emotional, and CEO. Before getting to the aftermath bit, watch this match. It is great. I don't think I'm overhyping the chemistry between Athena and Maher. It's so good. They are so in sync with each other. They go at a flash, and as the match gets more violent later on, they still have that amazing flow together. And the way that the ending comes as well, I feel like is great. But yes, Mercedes coming out on the stage, holding the Owen Hart title that she won last year, like she's already won this year's. I hope between those two as well. A genuine little moment before Athena, buddy, stompy stomp times, statement maker just to give a wee glimpse of the odds against Maher World in spite of her story. Going off fire with Mercedes with that motivation on top as well. The same thing that she did last weekend, it worked for her match with the Hazuki on Wednesday. Maher shouldn't beat Mercedes at Forbidden Door, but Athena, like, have we finally found our woman to dethrone the Forever Champion? Like, I mean, at minimum, it's not a bad shout to at least get me believing during the match, especially as you had her beat Athena here. And the way that it happened, if it was that student beating the master moment, and I don't know what the plans are for Athena, but it feels like maybe they have finally found a contender, or also that person to get the crowd to start to turn on Athena and want to see a change. Like, Maher World could be the person that instigates that if she's got enough support for the title match. Basically, I'm saying she is a perfect contender for Athena. Like, she shouldn't beat Mercedes here, but they have set her up perfectly to do something with Athena, whatever that may be. But she's absolutely knocked it out of the park. To think that she was a jobber replacement within that whole story of don't say no to stuff like this because you can never know what it leads to. Well, yeah, that's exactly what the arc has been. Like, taking all of these opportunities of really proving herself. And now look. Anyway, I thought the match was great. You're not going to get me excited for Mercedes versus Maher World in any better way than just having them both wrestle great matches on Wednesday and then on Saturday. There's no better way to get me excited for the semi-final. Yes, Mercedes did her beating down thing. Yes, Maher World's got her little story. But you put on 2 stellar matches, I'm going to be excited for the final. Same with Swerve and Will Ospreay. Like, both of those semi-finals were so good that you can't help but people be super excited for their match. Feels like Forbidden Door is going to just be a crazy pay-per-view. It could be so good. Headlined by AEW's own stuff, sprinkled with foreigners coming over stuff. It's almost like they're the side act, mid-card stuff on the show. Tekla Star Like Kids, the only like featured crossover stuff that's happening. Anyway, my main concern is how I'm going going to watch the bloody thing? How am I going to get this show out? That's the thing I'm most concerned about. Anyway, that brings me to the end of the show on a day that's getting hotter. So I do kind of want to, end the recording so I can put my t-shirt back on. It got that hot. It got hot. Anyway, I'll be back this time next week to talk about the wrestling as I get gradually worn down by there being too many football matches. As much as I love football, this year's a lot. This year is a lot. But yes, I'll be back this time next week. So thank you for listening, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. See you next week. Bid you adieu. Ta-ra, duckies. Ta-ra.